Can I tell you my favorite thing about An Hour to Give? It's introducing incredible organizations and people to you so you could learn more about this community. And I'm so excited because my friend Kevin Williams is here from Jericho Road Ministries. Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
It's so great to see you in the big seat today and here to talk a little bit about Jericho Road. For those that aren't familiar, and you and I have spoken over many, many years, but share a little bit about what Jericho Road does.
Jericho Road is a great, I call it a community. We're a recovery community. The ministry started about 30 years ago by a gentleman named Ray Demaray, and it's just been growing over the last few years, and it's a recovery community. We have a 9-month residential treatment program, and we offer continuing care, supported living afterwards. We involve all the community. We like to get the family involved. Mental health and addiction is, we like to say, a family disease, and so we need to help everyone, not only the person who has that substance use disorder, but everyone around them needs help to navigate their way through that and navigate what recovery looks like, because it's individual for every person. And just to get people back on track and back to, living and enjoying life again. And we see the headlines in the news. We can't get away from them. We're living in a very difficult time right now. People are dying, and this problem that we have is going to take all of us to solve. It's not just a Band-Aid solution where if we give them housing, that will solve the problem. If we give them mental health support, that will solve the problem. It takes all of us to solve this problem, and we have to start thinking, putting our mindset in that way, that we all have to be involved. This is a societal problem, right? It's not a their problem. It's a problem for all of us, and so we all need to be active and helping people be healthy and helping people be the people that they're meant to be,
And here's what I know about Jericho Road, because as you know, a friend of mine had a son attend, is that when you get connected to Jericho Road, you understand how special it is. It's to spread the word so that everybody understands how crucial this organization is. You've got lots of friends you're bringing on the show today too, which I think is really important, because I hear you, I just hear we're going to break down some silos today.
Yeah, and we've been kind of on this mission lately to break down silos, especially with a lot of the faith communities that are doing great work in the city. Capital City Mission and Restoring Hope, we work really well together. We're all doing the same work. And we just realized that, there was this quote, and I can't remember who said it, but it basically says that as nonprofits and people who are helping other people, if we're not working together, then we're just working for ourselves. And if we're working for ourselves, then we're not serving the people that we are, trying to help to the best of our abilities. So we should be working together. And as nonprofits, we need to work together to help share resources, not only material resources, but human resources as well. And to be connected so that if a client of ours has a problem or a question, we know at least where to direct them, where to bring them, and just help each other out as much as we can so that we're helping those who we serve so much better.
And I think too, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like things have changed so much with the opioid crisis and with the pandemic, and I thought it was a crisis before the pandemic, and now
it was. Okay. The pandemic just kind of took the sheets off.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's no news to all of us if you watch the local news. It's tough right now. A lot of people are finding it difficult to navigate life. People, we always say, this is recovery jargon, that drugs and alcohol aren't the solution to my problems, right? They're the solution for me to be able to live, to deal with my problems. They're not the problem itself. And so many people are living in constant fear. So many people are living in states of uneasiness, housing insecurity, job insecurity, money insecurity. A lot of people are living with trauma, unaddressed trauma, early childhood trauma. All these things people don't know how to cope with. And so drugs and alcohol just allow them to be able to cope with life. And we all know that our healthcare system isn't what we thought it should be. And it's very broken right now. And people are finding it very difficult to access the services that they need. How do I deal with trauma that's coming up that I've experienced as a child? It hurts, it's painful. It makes me not want to live. And so how do I deal with that? We just don't have enough resources to help people nowadays. And so they turn to drugs and alcohol. A lot of us turn to other addictions, gambling, shopping, phone, as ways to escape. But some of us turn to drugs and alcohol because it works. It works. It takes the pain away instantly, but for a very short period. And then we get caught up in the cycle of addiction. And it's so sad to see. But so many people are on the verge of being homeless right now. It doesn't take much.
It doesn't.
And
there, by the grace of God, go I.
Well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So the pandemic just kind of took the sheets off of that. It put people in a lot of positions that they weren't used to being in. It isolated a lot of us. Isolation is just, that's what this disease does.
When people come to Jericho Road and they're wanting a new life, a change in their life, do they say to you that they can't imagine that they are where they are today?
Oh, I hear it all the time. What happened? What happened? And it's not something that, I always say jokingly, no one wakes up and says, I'm going to be an alcoholic today. No one ever does that. It's a slow progression to that. But every step is just one more step backwards. I lost my job. I'm not handling what's going on in my life right now. I got divorced. My life is upside down. I ended up drinking too much, and I got caught up in not being able to cope with life every day. And then I lost my job. Then I lost my apartment.
Cyclical, right?
Very cyclical. And as anyone can testify, if you are without a home, if you are facing housing insecurity, that is traumatic in itself. Living on the street is horrible. No one wants to be there. Yet they are. And so what are we doing as a society? They need multi-layers of help. We need to address mental health. We need to address addictions. We need to address the housing insecurity. We need to address employment and all these things to help these people start living the life that I firmly believe that God wants them to have.
What does Jericho Road need?
The biggest thing that we're always striving for as a nonprofit is being able to meet our monthly monetary needs. It costs a lot of money to put people into a residential treatment program, and to provide the staff and the counseling, the care. It costs a lot of money. And so we're always, looking forward. And we did something that we didn't think we'd be able to do during the pandemic. We expanded our services.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the need was so great. We had up to a 20 to 30 person waiting list at any given time. So if someone's calling you to say, today I've made that decision, I'm going to get help. And you're on the other end of the phone saying, great, call me in 3 months.
That's hard.
That's hard, right? Because that window of opportunity where they've made a decision to do something, to make that change because they're hurting so much, and we can't give them that opportunity. It's horrible.
And what I know from my work, as you know, I worked in homelessness for about 10 years.
Yeah, over 10.
What I know is that sometimes that call, that minute, the next minute could be very different.
That's right. And so the hardest part that my staff face working at Jericho Road is that we tell people who are on our waiting list to call us every week. Call us. Let us know that you're doing okay. Call us if we can help you in any way, help you get into detox, help you get some safe housing, whatever it is.
Until they can get
until
to
they
you.
can get into our program. But the hardest thing that my staff has to do is deal with the phone calls where it's the mother or the father or the brother or the sister saying you can take them off the waiting list because they're dead.
Oh, Kevin.
You know, but that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it, and it's brutal. It's brutal, and this is part of why we want to foster these conversations and communities and taking down the silos with other ministries in Ottawa, is because we can do better if we work together.
Boy, that's hard to hear.
Well, it's the truth, and it's brutal. It's
Do you
brutal,
think
but
the
it's the
average
truth.
person really understands? I mean, it takes a lot to surprise me, as you know,
Yeah.
but you just did.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't know that that was the truth, but to hear it like that, do you think the average person living in Ottawa, in Canada, understands that this crisis is as big as it
We've
is?
become numb to it. You know, the media does a great job in highlighting what's going on in the mental health and addictions scene, so to speak, but we've become numb to it. It becomes old news. Oh, I've read that. I've heard that. Whatever, fill in the blank. But this problem isn't going away. It's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And the more barriers that people face, the more isolation they face, the more lack of resources that they're able to grab onto. It's just going to get worse. You know, it's hard to tell someone, you know, who's reaching out for help, you got to wait, and especially in our mental health care right now. You know, if we want to get someone who's dealing with severe trauma from a childhood incident, and we want to get them to see a psychiatrist, well, first they need a referral. Well, they need a referral from a doctor. They don't have a family doctor. So how do we get them into a clinic to get a referral? That's a process in itself.
Yeah.
Then, once they get the referral, it's a 3 to 6 month wait list to go and see a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Wow.
The system's broken.
The system is broken. We have lots to talk about today. You've got lots of friends you brought with you.
We brought friends, yeah.
So Kevin Williams is going to stay with us here on An Hour to Give and talk all about Jericho Road and a number of other ministries in this city. Stay with us on An Hour to Give. Well, we promised you that Kevin Williams from Jericho Road was going to bring friends, and he did just that. Keltie Davidson is with us today. Hello, Keltie. Nice to see you.
Hi, great to be here.
Executive Director of Capital City Missions, which is really an important organization. Talk to me a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, so we run a daytime drop-in center in Ottawa's Lower Town. We're right on Rideau Street, so we become an important stopping point for folks in Vanier, headed to services in town. We're pretty close to many of the shelters, so folks from the shelters can come have a quiet, a safe space to spend time during the day. We try really hard to foster a place of community where people can build friendships and kind of form family relationships that they might not currently have at this point in life. And we serve free sandwiches, coffee, fresh fruit on a daily basis to our community.
Yeah, really important. And of course, you work together because partnerships are important. How important is the work you do with Keltie?
Oh, we've been working together for how long now? 6 years?
Well, it's interesting. We sort of rekindled things for our organizations about 8 years ago, doing a big fundraiser together.
Nice.
But going back to our historic roots, our executive director and founder back in those days was doing the Jericho Road Coffee House. So the organizations have been linked for many years, for sure.
which is great. And as we talked about in the first segment today, those partnerships are so crucial to be able to create this opportunity. Talk to me a little bit about how you work together.
So the main one that we really enjoy doing, we just finished Coldest Night of the Year. So there's a few walks in Ottawa, but the Ottawa Lower Town Walk is Jericho Road and Capital City Mission. And so we do that walk together, and it's really good because we support one another leading up to the walk. We have a great time getting together. We're taking both of our communities together on walk day and meeting and having the walk and chili dinner, and it's just a great day of community. But we also, as I was saying before, we try to help each other out as much as we can in the day-to-day stuff, the stuff that isn't so glamorous and fun to do and whatnot. And we just try to share, as I said before, our any material stuff, any human stuff that we can help out with. In our continuing care program at Jericho Road, some of our guys go down to Capital City Mission and help make sandwiches in the morning a couple of days a week. And we just try to support one another in any way that we can. And the great thing is we form this relationship with one another. And I think, aside from all that other stuff, we get to help each other out personally. Because doing what we do sometimes takes its toll.
Here's what I know. I don't know much, Keltie, but here's what I know. Is sometimes the loneliest places at the top. Those executive director positions, the CEO positions, can be quite lonely. You've got your board looking at you, you've got the beneficiaries looking at you saying, can you do more? You've got political leaders going, can you get this done? And it can be sometimes hard to kind of hold that role yourself. Is the relationship you have with Kevin and others, we're going to speak as well with another one of your friends, is that one of those opportunities to really feel like you're collaborating?
Yeah, for sure. I think Kevin touched on it. We're sort of supporting each other in every way that we can, in terms of fundraising, in terms of, giving some of their guys opportunities to volunteer. I'm trying to revamp our policies right now. So my first emails go out to Kevin and Jason, who you're going to talk to later. What do you guys have so I don't have to reinvent the wheel? As a small organization, on a given day, I'm wearing 6 different hats. So having someone to check in with about a certain policy just saves me oodles of time.
For sure.
And in terms of, I think we're all sort of doing work we're really passionate about, but it can be work that is heavy. And so having someone to check in with in those seasons that feel extra heavy, and just like walk into his office, sit down and say, and to have someone at the other end of the desk saying,
complain
I
about
get
our
it.
boards.
I don't do that.
Joke.
But I think too is that it can be great to be small because you can be a bit nimble, but at the same time you're small.
Yeah, and that's what what Keltie touched on was really important too, because it's symbiotic. We get to give our guys opportunities to do service work, and they go to Capital City Mission and help out Keltie. Service work is good for them, especially in recovery, because we always say that service keeps us sober. And then it works the other way, that Keltie gets some added help and whatnot. So it works very well together. And we just work so much better when we work together. And a lot of times too, I find, especially with Keltie and Jason and myself, it allows us not to reinvent the wheel over again. If someone's done something that's worked, then we can share that with the others. Or as Keltie was saying, if she's doing a grant, have you done that grant before? And we can pick each other's brains on that. Because we do so much. There's so many things that we have to do.
And this is very much new thinking, because I think, a couple of decades ago, people were kind of in their own little world. Oh, I don't want to share any of the my secrets to granting, or, any of my secrets, because that's, what we've created here. I don't think we can live like that anymore. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think some of that, even historically, is not based on desire so much as when you're wearing 6 hats in a day, you don't always have the time to put on the 7th one, which is connecting with other people, because you're just head is down trying to meet the immediate needs of your community. And that's where having these solid foundations really is of benefit, because I don't have to do a lot of work to pick up the phone and ask Kevin a question now. But if I didn't have that relationship, it feels like more work to say, who can I go to? And so I think sometimes when we don't work together, it's just a matter of not having sort of time in the day to put that extra hat on.
What do you think the average, person listening, watching today may not know about the work that you do that may surprise them?
I always like to talk about the halo effect. And if you never heard of the halo effect, it basically says that nonprofit like Capital City Mission and Jericho Road and Restoring Hope, we're able to do the work and do it a lot better than most civic or government institutions, and we're able to do it for a lot less. And so the halo effect in Canada is about 1 to 5. So that means we do the work for about 1/5 of what it would cost the government to do the work.
Wow.
And that's just because of our experience, our strength, our hope, but as you said, because we're very nimble. We're able, and I hate to use the word pivot, but we can pivot quite easily. And on top of that, we help each other out.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
It's essential, obviously, and having the opportunity to showcase the 3 organizations today, what would you want someone to walk away with today in terms of Capital City Mission and knowing about the work that's being done there every day?
I think sort of a key thing for people to know is just how important it is for people to have community spaces. You probably have several different community spaces where you feel welcomed and at home. But if you're unhoused or living in a housing situation that doesn't feel especially safe, your body is always hyper vigilant. It's always under stress, and people need places where they can come and just lower that intensity and places to be safe. And that's where, once you have safety, you can build relationships that help you connect, that help you find other services. So everything that we do is sort of out of a foundation of friendship and relationship, and then through that we help connect people to other social services that they need. So we have a social worker on staff, but even with him, he's not sitting in an office all day. He's at the drop-in. He's in relationship with people, and out of that, he finds, what the need is, and he'll drive someone to a hospital appointment, and he'll do paperwork, and he's just kind of always doing whatever the task is for a given individual. And that's sort of our model, is sort of rooted in relationship. And since the pandemic, we've really had a huge increase. So pre-pandemic, we probably saw 70 to 100 people in a day, and now often I'm seeing over 200 people in a morning. And that's a really diverse community. That's people who are unhoused, that's people struggling with addiction, that's people struggling with mental health, that's people on disability, that's people who cost of living has increased. There's all of a sudden lots of seniors. They've always lived in the neighborhood, but they've never had to come before. So it's a really new Canadians. So we have a really diverse community coming on a given day, and it's sort of our role to facilitate a hospitable place where everyone's able to be welcomed and safe
and not feel alone.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, isolation is it's killing us, and with the way that people interact on their phone and social media, and it's already put people in situations of isolation. And then the pandemic hit, and that isolated people even more. And we've just seen the effects of isolation, and yeah, we got to start changing that. We have to start changing that.
Yeah.
And we complement, the work of Jericho Road in that, he's talking about a wait list. Well, it's in our community that people are waiting. So people need support at every stage of their journey, and we're going to come alongside people, whether they're ready for a change or not, whether, people come as they are, and we receive them. And that's sort of
I have
our
a quick
goal.
story. I was at
We have about 30 seconds.
I was at Capital City Mission once, and there was a gentleman at the window, and one of the volunteers was giving him a sandwich and a coffee, and as he took it, he was about to walk away, and they said, "We'll see you tomorrow," and the smile that went on his face.
Oh,
So what does that tell you?
it's a beautiful place for us to end our chat. Our chat isn't over, though,
No.
don't you worry. But thank you for sharing that story. Kevin Williams joining us today, and of course, Keltie Davidson as well. When we come back, we're going to talk more about these important organizations in our community. Stay with us on An Hour to Give. We're featuring Jericho Road Ministries today, Restoring Hope Ministries, and Capital City Mission. Lots of great information today. We want to welcome to the show Jason Pino. He is from Restoring Hope Ministries. Hello.
Hi, thank you, Sam. Thanks for letting me
Wonderful
be
to be here. And of
Thank
course,
you.
you're here with the lovely Keltie Davidson.
She's amazing. Yep.
From Capital City and working together, obviously. We've talked about kind of breaking down those silos.
Yeah.
And some of those smaller organizations like you are,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of think, why can't we get the attention of that big guy over there? Or why can't we, you know, get this kind of funding?
Yeah.
Is it frustrating sometimes?
It can be frustrating, mostly because we just care about our clients so much, and we want them to have the things that they need. But it can also be, it can be exciting in some ways because because we're smaller. It just forces us to try to think outside of the box, right? Like, so we have to say like, oh, I'll contact Keltie or I'll contact Kevin, and we'll see how we can work together. And in that ways, it can be a little bit exciting to try new things and build those relationships like you were talking about, so that like we can get together for coffee or breakfast and share our burdens, where maybe at larger organizations they don't have the time to do that or have that option, or maybe they can kind of get stuck in like a certain way of having to do it a certain way, whereas like for us we get the opportunity to try new things, and that can be both frustrating and fun at the same time. Yeah,
For sure. And we know that, you know, in terms of addictions, we know it's been a bit of a political hot potato, unfortunately. I mean, people, you know, talk about what's happened with homelessness, talk about what's happened with mental health, and sometimes we see great strides, and sometimes it can be frustrating. Even as a resident, I'm like, why are we not spending more money? Why are we not investing? If I was to beam in right now, all of Ottawa City Council, every MPP and every MP, what would you say to them, Keltie?
We call our drop-in the drop-in. So
Yeah.
I'd say drop in.
Yeah.
Um,
And see for themselves.
and see for
right?
themselves. Yeah, exactly. I think once you know the stories of individuals, you're a lot more interested to make a difference. And I think, we're not always aware of the reality. And I think one thing that COVID did is that as people were stuck in their houses, those who weren't in a house became more visible to people, and that's a good thing, because I think more people are becoming aware of the great needs for individuals in our city. And you know, the first year of COVID, we had our best fundraising event ever, because in that season, people were just really aware of, if it's this hard for me, what must it be like for someone else? And so I think just having the opportunity to meet people going through things is really where that change is going to happen.
I remember something as simple but as important and as crucial when I was working on radio. Every single day during the pandemic, I worked about 90 days straight, and I got a call when the pandemic first hit. I got a call from somebody saying there is nowhere for people living on the streets to go to the bathroom. And Keltie, my gosh, that stayed with me. I thought, what are we doing? How can we help? Like, everything just shut down overnight. I mean, that's the reality of what the pandemic did. It shone a very, very heartbreaking light on something that you both probably live on a daily basis.
I mean, the pandemic too is a good example of what is it like being a small organization, because when the pandemic struck, big organizations had to shut down, and they had to, for good reasons, and they had to figure out, what is our response? How are we going to keep staff safe? What are we going to do? And as a small organization, I said, we have a window that opens onto Rideau Street, and we didn't have to close at all for the pandemic. Yes, we closed our inside, but daily I was serving coffee, I was handing out sandwiches, and every day I could have that contact point with individuals in our community that otherwise would have been isolated. So as a small organization, you can kind of flex and kind of work with what you're handed. And so again, there's stress, there's financial pressure, but there's also great flexibility.
God bless you, honestly. And Jason, tell me a little bit more about Restoring Hope. You've been around since 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, give us a sense of what you're working on.
So for us specifically, we're an emergency shelter for youth. So we say technically ages 16 to 24, but unfortunately even recently we've seen 13 and 14-year-old youth showing up who are homeless. And so we provide emergency shelter space. Working together, kind of along this theme of working together, we share space with First Baptist Church downtown. If you know where City Hall is, we're right across the street from the courthouse in City Hall. And they allow us to use their church basement to operate this emergency shelter 5 nights a week. So we open our doors at night. We have youth who come in. Some of them need safe shelter for the night, and some of them have housing, but they're just coming in for a meal and to connect with the staff and the volunteers. So but yeah, keeping vulnerable youth safe is what we're all about there.
Those ages will stick with me for a while.
Yeah. Every week we get calls from teachers and parents, and you can't imagine like being 14 or 16 years old, and I get calls from social workers at the hospital saying, we're getting ready to discharge this youth and they have nowhere to go. Like they've just been in there for mental health care, and
It's okay.
Yeah, they're about to be released and they have nowhere to go, no parents to come pick them up, or so they can be very vulnerable. And that's what I wanted to say when you were asking about what I would want politicians or our policymakers to know. I would want to say, like, don't look at our clients as a burden, right? Or like as a problem that you have to solve, because when we read these articles about encampments being torn down, or what are we going to do about the marketplace and these people, you know, making it so difficult and stuff, is like we're looking at these people as if they're burdens or if they're problems. And I think if we see them as the people that they are, and that they're just suffering and that they need our help, and that we would want to invest in showing them love, and we would want to invest in showing them care and mercy, and it would change our mindset. Like we would want to invest the resources to help them, instead of thinking like, oh, that's a problem that we've got to get rid of, and we don't want to put any kind of resources or help towards that, because we somehow think that if we just don't address it, that it'll just go away on its own or something. And we know through working with these people on a daily basis that it doesn't go away. Like they need help, and that they can be helped, that when the resources and the services are available to them, that they will make those changes, that it will make a difference in their lives. So it's not an empty, if you want to call it an investment, you know, it's not an investment that doesn't work or anything. We just need the people in there that really care and really know what's needed, and to listen to those people that are saying like, hey, we're working with these people every single day, and we're telling you what we need. Trust us that we're not, you know, that we know what we're talking about. Yeah.
I have a 16-year-old daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have, you know, for me, like we've been doing this for 10 years, so I have 2 kids that are older now, but often that was something that we would see. And one of the motivations to start Restoring Hope was I was doing a lot of street outreach at that time, and seeing kids that didn't have anywhere to go at night, and having to like leave and come home and know that I couldn't help them. And I think something that we're all motivated by as in our organizations is we want the ability to say yes to people, right? Like we don't want to have to say no, like Kevin was talking about. When we get those phone calls, we want to be able to say, yes, please drop off your son, or please like tell that youth that they can come and stay with us. We just want the ability to keep saying yes to people when they come to us for help, and that's what we're looking for.
So it's about more yeses, Keltie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what you're looking for too? Yeah. And who are the yeses that you're looking to get? From who? From donors, from funders, from government?
I mean, again, as a small organization, I mentioned, it's more than double the people that we're seeing in a given day, and it's all those people coming in, and it's just more of everything when you see more people in a day. So I've had to double my staff team, and we do that through our donor base. We do it through grants, and I'm just sort of learning that juggling match because my budget has more than doubled, so I'm having to grapple with where to get those funds, because we didn't have a growth model to grow. We had more people coming through our doors, and again, that's why I reach out to you guys. I reach out to Kevin, like how are we going to sustain the growth that our community just needs? It's not sort of a decision. I didn't have an aspiration to grow.
For sure. And I remember working in homelessness, and we kept saying to people, we'd love to not be here, because we'd love the problem to be solved. I mean, that was more than a decade ago, and it's gotten worse. And I just think the beautiful intersection between the three organizations, Jericho Road, of course, Restoring Hope, and Capital City, I can see why, when you first sort of approached me about all coming on together, I thought, well, that's really innovative. I get it, by the way. This beautiful intersection of the three of you. You wouldn't do it any other way, Jason?
No, I mean, now that I've had the chance to do it like this, and what I appreciate about Keltie and Kevin is, again, the three of us kind of come together with our faith as well as a part of the work that we do. And I think our faith gives us an attitude of hope and hopefulness, as opposed to getting too cynical or losing faith, right? So we believe that God loves the people that we work with, and that He wants them to receive the love and the help that they need. And so that gives us hope that the resources are going to be there, and that if we figure out a way to work together, that it's all going to work out, kind of thing. So I think that's why we don't kind of have this fear of if we help each other, they're going to get something that I don't. We have this hopefulness, I think, that if we work together, then everything's going to work out great. And it's kind of working out of a spirit of abundance, or a hope for abundance, as opposed to in fear. When you're afraid, you try to cut yourself off, or you make bad decisions, I think, when you're afraid. But you make better decisions when you're acting out of hope, and that's what's been so great about working with Keltie and Kevin.
Wonderful, beautifully said.
Yeah.
Jason Pino joining us today. Keltie Davidson, thank you so much for spending time with us. We've got lots to talk about still some opportunities to learn all about these great organizations. Of course, Jericho Road, Capital City Ministries, Capital City Mission, and of course, Restoring Hope Ministries. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on An Hour to Give. We're coming right back. We hope you do too. I promised we'd be back here on An Hour to Give, and we are. We're talking about some great organizations today. Kevin Williams is back. He's from Jericho Road Ministries, and he's stayed as well. Jason Pino's here, and he is from Restoring Hope Ministries. Gentlemen, we've talked a lot today about working together, but you've done more than just talk. You've walked the walk. Tell me about this great website.
So it's called bettertogetherottawa.ca, all one word, and it's a landing page where you can come and see the three ministries that were here today. And it'll tell you a bit about what we're doing. It'll direct you to our websites if you want to go there, and you can, if you want to donate and help support us, you can as well. So it's bettertogetherottawa.ca, and check it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. What a wonderful collaboration. And we've talked about this a lot, but people staying in silos isn't going to get us anywhere. We need to all come to the table. So the idea behind the website, the idea about this actual official collaboration, where did that come from, Jason?
Probably mostly from Kevin, honestly, but I mean, it just comes out of our conversations, right? Of figuring out ways that we can work together more and share our resources and share who we are. So having one single place that you can kind of come and land on and see all three in the same space. I hope that out of this conversation we're having today, that more people will want to learn more about Jericho Road and Capital City Mission and Restoring Hope, and this will give them a nice, easy place to land to see all three of us.
I love it, and you've made
and
it
the
easy.
catalyst was you.
Aw.
I'll give you some of the credit, and it's the truth. And so, you know, we've always worked together, and then
Yeah.
when we all decided to come on the show and you offered us this time, it was just the perfect opportunity for us to put something together.
Good.
And we'll give a little shout out to Jonathan. Hey,
Absolutely.
Jonathan
Yeah.
Langell, our
Yeah.
media and communications coordinator at Jericho Road, and he was able to put it together really quickly, and it just turned out really nice.
Lovely,
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
I love hearing that. That's
Yeah,
that's good
yeah,
news.
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about nonprofits in this community. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to share. Start me off.
Well, I mean, the nonprofits in Ontario and nonprofits in Ottawa, and so the recent Ontario nonprofit report came out, and for the Ottawa region, I'm going to read this so I get it correct. It's 46% of nonprofits are aware of other nonprofits from the same subsector which have permanently closed due to the pandemic. It's higher than the provincial average, which is 34%, so it's about 12% higher. And 61% of social nonprofits had to scale back programs and services in comparison to the provincial average of 49%. So we're lacking the funding. We're lacking the funding to continue the programs that we offer, and not just to the clients, but to the larger community as well. You know, I think of at Jericho Road, it's not only our recovery community, but also we offer family support services to help the family navigate what recovery looks like for the individual, you know? And as faith-based organizations, we don't receive government funding. And that's just the way it is, and we're okay with that, but it makes us rely more on our community to help us do the work that we do. And you had touched in the last segment, you know, if I could make a plea, it would just be to remember the smaller organizations that are doing great work. At Jericho Road, we have 31 beds that are constantly filled. That's 31 people who aren't on the street,
That's right.
who aren't being, who wouldn't be looked after, right?
Without Jericho Road.
Without Jericho
Yeah.
Road. And those 31 men have families, right?
And their
So-
brothers and
their
sons
brothers
and
yes.
husbands and
So there's a big ripple effect,
Yeah.
you know? It's the same with Restoring Hope,
yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I can't even imagine, you know, having a son or a husband or a brother, you know, going through that, or having a child on
Yeah.
the street. I mean, it's just,
It's traumatic for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, there's a quote I read the other day by Peter Levine, and he says that trauma is perhaps the most avoided, ignored, belittled, denied, misunderstood, and untreated cause of human suffering today.
wow.
Today. And that's just due to all the things that we've talked about in
Yeah.
the last half hour, 40 minutes. And so we have to do something. And this is, as I said before, and I'll say it again, because people really need to wrap their heads around this, is that this is a we issue. It's not a Restoring Hope issue, it's not a Jericho Road issue, it's not a Capital City Mission issue, it's not an Ottawa mission, it's all of us. And so if we can continue to pull these silos down, work as communities, work as individuals towards a greater cause, then we can start making a dent. And we need to.
Absolutely.
We need to.
Is there a particular youth that you've come across over your years that when you put your head on your pillow at night, that their face is right there and you're thinking, oh, I wish I could have done more, or I wish we could have done something different?
Yeah, there's a girl who, before we started, but I would say she was kind of one of the motivations for why we started. Again, I was doing street outreach and just out with a bag and handing out supplies to people, and I could see, I knew her, and I could see that she was like getting ready to go with somebody to a dangerous situation. And I kind of pulled her aside, and I was like, I'm really worried about you. Please don't do this, you know?
Yeah.
And she kind of indicated to me that it wasn't something that she wanted to do, but she felt like she didn't have any other options, right? And so that was a light bulb moment for me that the work that we're doing, our three organizations, is to give them an option, right? Like, so they don't want to be stuck in their addiction. They don't want to be sleeping on the street. They don't want to sit in their apartment alone and feeling sad. They want to be able to go to Capital City Mission. They want to be able to go to Jericho Road. They want to be able to come to Restoring Hope and have a place to sleep at night. But we have to provide them that option, right? Like, we can't just complain about them and say that, oh, that problem. We have to, like, what are we doing to be a part of the solution? So,
and as smaller organizations,
Yeah.
it gives us the opportunity to have those personal relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and people are more apt to be honest and open when they know who they're talking to. And you know, we have to meet people where they're at. We can't expect them to come to us. We have to meet them where they're at in order to help them to the best of our abilities. And that's why I love these three organizations, because we're meeting people where they're at. No stigma, no judgment, just love, compassion, and a willingness to walk with them. And that's all we need to do.
I'll ask the same question that I asked of Jason. Is there somebody that keeps you up at night in your mind that you look back on? And
I always say I want to celebrate the wins. You know, and Gerald Jorgensen was just on CBC in the last week for doing, they were highlighting his street outreach, and you know, and he was a part of our community, and that's a win. That's a win to see someone get their life back, be able to live life on life's terms, and then to turn that around and start giving back to the community. That's a win. I don't like to talk about the losses. We see enough of the loss. We're surrounded by it. You know, I remember my sponsor telling me the best investment you can make if you're in recovery is to buy a black suit. And he said, you'll have a black suit, and it'll be for you to go to funerals at, because the longer you stay in recovery, the more funerals you're going to go to, or it'll give you something for your parents to bury you in, so they don't have to buy another one.
well,
So I don't want to buy another suit.
yeah. No, that's. I don't want you buying another suit either. By the way, I mean that's really impactful, and I think it's important to focus obviously on the success, and the moving forward.
Yeah.
I know for myself, and I certainly haven't put in the time that you gentlemen have, but when you saw somebody leave after you saw them in recovery, and then you see them come back, my heart just did a you know, that was hard to see somebody come back, but then you thought. But they came back.
They came back.
It's you know what I mean?
They're back.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah.
They're still
Because
reaching out for help.
we've given them a safe place,
Yeah.
and they know that they can go back.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we really believe in the full circle. We like to hire staff with lived experience. That's giving them purpose. And who better to help someone who's struggling with mental health or homelessness or addiction than someone who's been there and has a way out, has found the solution, and can meet that person where they're at and try to give them the solution.
100%.
So that they don't have to go through any more suffering,
Yeah.
any more trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
BetterTogetherOttawa.ca is
Yeah.
where we're headed.
Yeah.
Obviously, lots of donations would be beautifully accepted there. Anything else you're needing? Is it, you know, I always think of philanthropy, time, talent, and treasure.
Yeah.
Are you looking for volunteers, Jason, for instance, for all of
just
you?
a few quick things. So yes, volunteers for our drop-in. We're always looking for, we provide meals each night, so we have opportunities for people to cook meals and bring them so that we can serve the youth meals. And one that's coming up is similar to Coldest Night. We do an event called Ride for Refuge. That's going to be coming up in October, but we're already working towards that now, looking for team captains to help us raise money. And it's a ride, walk / type of event, but all to, we're hoping to raise enough money to cover 2 months of expenses right now
Nice.
for us. So that's our big goal moving forward. So anybody that might be interested in being a team captain or getting involved in different ways with Restoring Hope, that's what we would love to see right now.
Excellent. Anything you're looking for in particular?
We're always just looking for community. If you want to get involved, go to our website. There's a contact page. Get in touch with us. We'll answer it as best as we can in the time that we have, and it's just about being connected. The opposite of addiction is connection, and the more we're connected, we become a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. And so let's just start taking those silos down and getting connected.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and go to our landing page, bettertogetherottawa.ca. There'll be more stuff posted in the future, and hopefully a few more fundraising events together. You know, we combine our resources. We don't have the money of the big guys, and so if we can fundraise together and support one another that way, that's even better.
The passion comes through. I can tell how hard you've all worked. Of course, your colleague as well, Keltie, and you know, I think that's all a big part of this is coming together, working hard together to ensure that you know, the people that are most vulnerable in this city are taken care of. So, you know, you've done a beautiful job there, and I really value what you've all brought. And I'm hoping today we've inspired people to visit bettertogetherottawa.ca. Reach out to each and every one of you. Keep up the great work.
And you too. We thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. And remember to take care of yourselves. I'm trying not to be a mother right now, I swear.
That's
But
why we work together,
please
for
remember
those
to do that.
reminders.
Yes.
Right?
There you go. Yeah, I
Thank you.
appreciate it very much. Today on An Hour to Give, we focused on, of course, Jericho Road Ministries, Restoring Hope Ministries, and Capital City Mission. bettertogetherottawa.ca is where you're going to want to go to get all that great information. I'm Sam Laprade. Thanks for staying with us on An Hour to Give.